Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday, your daily stop for virtual reality content. My name is Dee, and today I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, I want to talk about field of view and how it's different between the Oculus Rift Development Kit 1, DK1, and DK2. And second, I'm going to show you the latest version of my FFmpeg unwarpvr tool and how it's actually now able to convert DK1 videos into videos you can view inside DK2. And we're going to visit a bunch of classic Oculus Rift Dk1 applications and show them to you inside your DK2 if you have one. So first of all, this is a simple diagram of DK1 and DK2. It is totally to scale. We're viewing it from the top down. And this is the screen size, the lens size, and the position of your eyes relative to the screen. So immediately the first things you can see, the screen on DK2 is quite a lot smaller, the lenses are somewhat larger, and the inner lens separation in both cases is the same, 63.5 millimeters. This is the average interpupillary distance for adults in the United States. So I want you to pay close attention to the little red marks coming out of the screen. So if you can spot them, those actually indicate the center of the left half and the right half of the screen. So the one on the left is the center of the left half, the one on the right is the center of the right half of the screen. So on DK2, you'll see that when you look right through the center of the lens, you will be looking directly at the center of the screen, almost directly. It's a little bit off, but it's very, very close. On DK1, there's actually a big error where you're looking to the right of the red mark with your left eye and the left of the red mark with your right eye. And this is going to be important because when we start looking at field of view with DK1, if your left eye looks through the very left side of the lens, the very left edge of the lens, you're going to barely be able to see the left edge of the screen. You're going to be able to see out that far. In DK1, because of the size of the lenses, you couldn't really see past the edge of the screen, even if your eye was very close to it. However, on the right side, you're not going to be able to see the same field of view as you can on the left side because the divider is in the way, and you're starting out to the right of the center of the screen. On the other hand, on DK2, if you try to look through the left and right edges of the lens, you will actually discover that you are not able to see through either of those places. On the right, because you're looking through the divider in the middle, and on the left, because you're actually seeing off the screen. And this is partly because the lenses are so much bigger, partly because the screen is smaller. Just when you're that close to the lens, at that minimum eye relief, you're not going to be able to see any image through the edges of the lens at all. However, if you're just looking through the middle of the lens, you will actually get this nice symmetric field of view where you're able to see the same amount to the left and the right, and it all fits on the screen. And it's perfectly centered around directly in front of your eye. And that's exactly what you want, because that maximizes the stereo overlap, which is the region in which you can see stereoscopic 3D. So now that I've shown you this, briefly, vertical field of view is a little bit different. It's actually symmetric in both DK1 and DK2. DK1 has more vertical field of view. Most people don't care as much about vertical field of view, so I'm not going to talk more about it, other than to say DK1 has more of it, on both the top and the bottom. So next I'm going to show how we convert a DK1 video to DK2, and what it looks like, and how it looks different from a normal DK2 video. So we're going to start with this. This is a DK1 video recorded from my original Let's Play of Chicken Walk. Chicken Walk is a classic DK1 application where you play a chicken and you're walking around a farmyard and you're going to pick up seed and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert by de-warping this, this image into this rectangular original render target where all of the straight lines are preserved. So this is how the game originally rendered this image. And in this rendered image, there is a perspective distortion around the edges, but there is no barrel distortion. There's no warping like you see on a DK2 screen, or a DK1 screen. It's also a lot higher resolution, and it has to start out higher resolution because that warping transformation makes it smaller. And then after we do that, we just do the opposite transformation, but this time we're going to DK2. So we're going to warp this render target to DK2 exactly the same way that the Oculus Rift SDK does. Notice there's this big black space in the middle, and that actually, that exists there because of the difference in the center of the screens on DK1 and where your eyes are looking. I've added the black space so that your eyes, when you look at the exact center of the left and right halves of the render target image, they will be exactly where the lens centers are pointing inside the DK1. So this DK2 image, you'll notice right away, the bubbles are actually extending beyond the top and bottom of the DK2 screen, and also quite a bit ways off the left and right edges of the DK2 screen. So those are areas you could actually see on DK1, and now they're being cropped off altogether. So this indicates a lost field of view on both edges and on the top and bottom. The edges are where it's losing the most. It's losing just a little bit at top and bottom because the original Unity application did not have a lot of vertical field of view. What's not as obvious is that this black region in the center is actually considerably larger than it would be with a DK2 application. Just for comparison, I'm going to bring up a native DK2 application. This is Kontiki. Kontiki Alone at Sea. So these are both outdoor scenes, so you can see the bubbles very clearly. You can see that DK2 native has a smaller black space in the middle, so you have more field of view towards your nose. So on the right side of your left eye and the left side of your right eye. And you have a bit less field of view on the far left and right edges, and a bit less on the top and the bottom. Now, you might be wondering if it's possible to do the reverse transformation and take a DK2 video and move it to DK1, and what does that look like? So here is Lava Ink, which is the roller coaster application for DK2, but it's been converted for DK1. So if you have a DK1 or something similar, like a Google Cardboard, you can put it on right now and watch this video, and you should get quite a similar experience to what I get when I play this application using the DK2. I've adjusted where the lens centers are, and you can see the field of view is different from a standard DK1 application. It doesn't extend quite as far to the right and left edges, or to the top and bottom, and you can see the two views are actually overlapping and cutting each other off in the middle. And that represents the lost field of view that you would normally be able to see in a normal DK2 application in the center of the screen, toward your nose. So the next thing I want to show you is a particular application for DK1 that had an abnormally high field of view, and I want to show you what that looks like in DK2. So if you haven't guessed what it is Riff Coaster. Riff Coaster was one of the earliest demos for the Oculus Rift Dk1. It was made using the Unreal Development Kit, and for whatever reason, they decided to use an abnormally large render target, with the result that the two images extend all the way to the left and right edges of the screen. So this is a very, very high resolution render target, very high field of view, higher than you can even see through the lenses, unless your eyes are super, super close to them. It actually extends past the top and bottom of the screen. When we convert this to DK2, the image actually literally, except for that black space in the middle, it literally covers the entire screen, from corner to corner. We're hitting all four corners of the screen with this rewarped image. And so we have almost as much field of view as we could ever possibly have on the development kit 2, except for that space in the middle, which is what we lost because DK1 applications don't have as much field of view toward the middle. So if you ever wondered if it was the particular settings of the application or the hardware that was limiting your field of view in DK2, this is a good video to be used to be testing that. And we're going down the roller coaster. So if you're watching this in your DK2 now, this is one of the classic demos in the Rift Dk1. Definitely worth also checking out in your DK2 just by watching this video full screen in your DK2. And you should get a very high field of view, basically as high field of view as you can possibly get in DK2, except for that part in the middle. And this was made on an Unreal Development Kit map, which was very popular at the time and was used for several other demos. And now I just want to go through a whole bunch of other popular DK1 demos and show you what they look like in DK2, so you guys with DK2s can check out all these classic demos. So now we're at the South Pole. What demo am I in now? This is Oculus Google Street View. This is one of my earliest videos. And you can see here, I'm popping up a dialog so that I can go to another location. So I can type in any location that has Google Street View data, if you're looking at your monitor, you'll actually notice that the dialogue here is slightly pincushion distorted. And that's because in the original recording, it was actually not distorted at all. It was actually in screen space rather than in world space. And it was just drawn on top of the two bubbles. And the result is that when it's rewarped for DK2, we get this slight pincushion distortion. So now we're on top of the Eiffel Tower. And I really enjoyed visiting this particular place in this rewarped video for the Rift, because you can see so much more detail looking down there at Paris and seeing the buildings and seeing the river when you have the resolution of the DK2. And I really can't wait to see this particular application be ported to DK2, because it really benefits from the increased resolution, and it's something that everybody can understand and enjoy using. Even regardless of their technical expertise. Next, another classic DK1 demo. This one's in the process of being ported to DK2. There are technical issues to resolve. This is Lunar Flight. Lunar Flight, you fly a lunar module around on the moon. You're delivering cargo from one base to another. You're gathering data on the lunar surface, things like that. And it's interesting because it's a good example of putting the UI into the world all around you. So in order to play the game, you really have to look to all sides and see the interface on all sides of you and manipulate it by using your controller, but you're also using your head to look at the controls you want to manipulate on every side. And Lunar Flight was one of the most popular demos back in the DK1 days. It was the highest rated for a long time. It was one of the only commercial ones. And I think it's been a great template for how to do UIs in VR in a way that's comfortable and takes advantage of the massive field of view. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this one in DK2, because as you can see, the increased resolution is amazing for UIs that are embedded in VR. You can see a lot more detail in the letters. There's not so much risk of illegibility with lettering in the interface as there was in DK1. And additionally, when you're looking through that screen and looking out at the moon, because that screen has a reduced field of view, it's the rest of your field of view is actually taken up by the interface. You can see more resolution on the lunar surface as well. So everything just has more resolution, and it definitely improves the experience. So for the next demo, this is one I'm very excited about. It is Blocked In. Blocked In is a diorama created by Daniel Ernst, the same one who created Der Große Gottlieb. And it is otherwise known as the Tetris Apocalypse. It is a simple little demo where you sit on a stool and you can look all around you. You can't move, and you can't really do anything except look around you. You can look out the window and see the Tetris pieces falling and destroying the city. Other than that, you can't do much of anything. And I really think, again, the DK2's resolution improves it. This demo is similar. This is RedFrame. So RedFrame, you do have the ability to walk around. RedFrame is a great demonstration of how realistic lighting can really make an environment feel a lot more realistic and start to evoke that sense of presence. And I think DK2 definitely helps it to look better, because there's a lot of details, like there's a map on the wall, there are book titles, there are the clock face. There's a lot of things with just the subtle detail that really requires sufficient resolution to bring out the level of detail that is present in these items. Most of the lighting is actually pre-baked in this particular demo. They have a workflow where they use a 3D modeling, a professional 3D modeling package to generate it all, and that's how they make it look so pretty. They are still in the process of turning this into a full adventure game, which I am very excited to see. So I hope that game will be coming to DK2, because I think this could be a really compelling demo. I actually used it in most of my demo sessions as the very first demo I ever showed people on DK1. So I'm hoping I'll be able someday to do the same with DK2. Next, this is a quick one. SNES9x VRcade. This gave you a room with a big screen projection TV where you could play Super Nintendo games. And it's actually integrated with a Super Nintendo emulator, so that you just load up the ROM and you play it. on the screen. So you can turn off the room and turn it on again. And it'll be cool when you get more environments like this, where you can customize the environment to suit the game, things like that. Next, Oculus Maximus. Oculus Maximus is another UDK application, and it was created to support the Razer Hydra. So when I am swinging my sword like that, I'm actually swinging my hand in the air, and it is swinging my sword accordingly. And I'm going up to fight this guy, and I'm going to slice at him with my sword just by literally moving my hand to slice at him with my sword. So there haven't been a lot of Razer Hydra applications yet for DK2, and that's understandable because Razer Hydras are very rare right now. But as soon as we start to get some new motion control methods like STEM, STEM's coming out by the end of the year, and there's going to be some others as well. Some people are hoping Oculus is working on something. I'm also hoping that. And there's going to be some alternatives like PrioVR, like Control VR with finger tracking. There's just a bunch of motion controls that are really all trying to compete in this market. And it'll be so exciting to be able to actually move my hands around and move my fingers around inside VR in games like this again, and to see it in full detail in the DK2 like we're seeing in this demo here. So next, Hydra Cover Shooter. This was an experimental game designed by Teddy OK, and it was designed to kind of ask the question, what would a cover shooter look like in VR? And the way he does it is by attaching a Hydra to your chest, which tracks the height of your body above the floor. And you would use that to hide behind obstacles, and then you stand up and you fire at dudes. And they would fire these slow-moving bolts at your head, so you actually had to duck when the bolts come at you, or else you would get hit. So you have to do this ducking and standing and ducking and standing, and you're no longer hitting buttons to do this. You are literally ducking and standing using your body. And that can definitely give it this much stronger feeling of being really involved in the action. And I'm really hoping that we're going to see some kind of games involving moving your whole body around in DK2. Standing VR was a big feature with Crescent Bay at the Oculus Connect show and in their demos. And I really hope we're going to see some action games that also incorporate standing VR using DK2 and using the consumer Rift, especially with motion controls like we're seeing here. Practically any of the motion control schemes could be used pretty effectively to track the motion of your body like this. And next we're going to be looking at another Razer Hydra demo. So this is Crashland. Crashland is a demo where you have two guns, and you're trapped on a hostile alien planet where you must fight off giant alien spiders. And it's not much fun, because you will inevitably die, but that's okay, you have fun while you're doing it. So the spiders come at you, you see them on your radar, you shoot at them until they die, and when they die they convulse in a horribly horrific manner. Here we go. And I'm really looking forward to, again, to having more motion control apps on DK2. This app works better on DK2, I think, because as the spiders are coming from a distance, you can start to make them out much closer without having to figure out what kind of spider they are, things like that. So I think this kind of game will work quite well, this kind of endless shooter game on DK2, as soon as we have motion controls. This is Skeleton Rush. Skeleton Rush is a very, very fast-paced game. I want you to notice that they actually have a ski mask in this game, or a sport mask, that covers the top and bottom of your field of view. So you don't really notice the lost field of view at the top and bottom from DK1, because it was covered by the mask anyway. And that helps to actually give you a feeling like you're really wearing a mask on your face. I know that sounds ridiculous, that you're already wearing the Rift on your face, and you want to make people feel like they're wearing a mask on their face when they're already wearing a mask on their face. But it's actually a pretty cool effect. And you can definitely see it inside the DK2 converted version as well. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of field of view reduction effects people are going to use like this. Things like noses, like masks, things that are consistent with the theme of the game, like this one is. I'm looking forward to seeing more of those. Next, this is a classic. So Blair Renault, who is the developer of Technolust, which is a huge hit game, very, very well funded, very well received, and still in progress. But this was the first demo that he ever made, as far as I know, for the Oculus Rift. It's called The Room. You'll see some of his familiar items from Technolust in here. For example, the Speak and Spell, some things like that. The Oculus Rift Dk1. And he originally designed this as just kind of a room with a bunch of stuff that he liked in it, and just throwing stuff in there and letting you walk around. And it was definitely an interesting experience. So this is 3D Parking Simulator. I like to say that this game is scarier than Dread Halls, because for me it is. Very, very stressful. I was always paranoid I was going to crash. The controls were a little bit finicky, but I actually found it really educational and really a better way to practice parking than trying to do it in real life and panicking. So, and it really benefits from VR, because in real life, parking is one of those experiences where you really have to use your head and look all around. And I hope that we'll get something like this in DK2 that isn't just parking in Elite Dangerous. Next, Affected. Affected was a very popular horror game for DK1 that hasn't been ported yet. Has a lot of cool environments in it, very well designed, lots of good assets. I wasn't as big a fan of Affected as I was of Dread Halls, because I tend to like my horror games to have lose conditions. This is more of a haunted house, where nothing bad can ever happen to you, but scary things happen to you. And it's still interesting, it's still fun to see all the things that happen. It doesn't have a lot of replay value. Although you can look at different parts of the environment each time you go through, because it is a VR game. So, but it's a very atmospheric experience. It's a very rich and detailed experience with lots of complex modeling, and I think it kind of starts to set the bar for the level of graphics that we can expect from a VR experience, while still achieving the resolution and frame rates that we need to get good performance. Next, Rest and Relaxation. This was originally created as a demo just to help business people to relax in the workplace. It sets you in this river where you're floating along, and this was one of the most demanding games for DK1 at the time. It had some performance issues. I don't think it would run on DK2 as it is, because it is so demanding. And it definitely looks pretty though. Looking up at all the details of the leaves, they definitely look a lot better on DK2. And being able to see the sun shining through them and everything, I would love to see a version of this for DK2 or something similar, where you're really just dealing with a very pretty and rich and detailed natural environment. And I think relaxation demos in general are going to be a big important thing for VR, a kind of thing where you don't need any controls. You really just want to give somebody something they can use to chill and relax and unwind after a long, hard day. And I think this is part of how they're really going to reach out to the market of people who aren't hardcore gamers and really just want to use VR, for entertainment or relaxation. Anamnesis. This is the last demo. So Anamnesis is a weird game. They did something that nobody has ever done before or since. So when you lift your Oculus Rift to your face and look around with it, you can see hidden messages in your environment. And you can look all around at those messages. And then later, when you put down the Oculus Rift, you actually switch back to monitor mode automatically. So they used that as kind of an in-game, as an in-game kind of ghost viewing device that was given to you by the scientists. So you pick it up and you look through it, and you see messages from ghosts in the environment. And then when you put it down, you're back in mouse mode and you're playing it as a normal monitor mode game. So that's just one example of how you can kind of incorporate monitor-based play and Rift-based play in the same application. And nobody's really tried that again, and I'm curious how you might be able to exploit that on DK2 as well. So here we're switching back to monitor mode, and here we are. And now it just looks like a normal monitor-based application. So that's all for today. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you are a DK2 owner who has never seen these DK1 demos before, let me know which ones you are most excited about seeing ported to DK2. And that is going to be all for today. Let me know anything else you want to see, and everybody have a great every day.